What's going on, guys? Coach Hayden here with Steel Strength Training. This video may not sound very specific to the gym or training because it has lots of applications in life, but we are going to apply it to the setting of the gym and lifting weights to better understand this concept. And that is results versus methods. We're going to break this down to 3 different points for this video, but first I want to continue with the analogy of base building that I've established a precedent with in this new program. And that's that we have to start at the bottom of the structure, spread our resources out more wide, scatter them, and then we can narrow up to the top of the structure when we get to the results, which will either be peak strength, maybe a better physique, less body fat, more muscle mass. Whatever your results are, you can just fill in the blank with that category. But that's our basic idea, and then these other 3 points are going to be surrounding this idea of base building. So the first point is that methods are not the same as results. So kind of forgot to fill this in here. But in this pyramid structure, the top, the peak of it is our results section. And that's when we get to the end of building the structure. Everything else underneath is the methods. And this can lead to a lot of question marks, being what difference do we see between methods and results? Which is our first point, is that they are not the same thing. And one of the best examples I can think of to illustrate this point is studying. If you haven't been to school in a while, you probably remember, or if you're in school, then you will know that when you first start a course, the first day of your class is probably going to be syllabus day, or they might go over an introductory outline of how the course is going to go. They don't slam the exam paper on your desk and say, figure it out, buddy. What they do is they let you know this is how things are going to go. They slowly introduce the course material chapter by chapter, doing it modules at a time. They have quizzes and homework, practice questions sprinkled all throughout. And then as you get closer, they might offer you up some practice exams to where you have to do some more intentional, specific application of what you've learned in the course. And then by the time you get to the end of the semester, you're ready to ace that final exam. Well, when we think about the gym, it's very similar. You might have a result in mind. That could be losing lots of body fat, gaining muscle mass, or getting stronger. But otherwise, you're not here yet. Everyone is here at the bottom. And even if you've been in the gym for a long time, if you're trying to develop your strength or to bring up lagging body parts, your result is going to be conceptualized in a similar way, to where the top of the pyramid is where you're trying to get, and the base of the pyramid is where you're starting. So the first is that methods are not the same as results. But how do we understand methods then? If the end result of being super jacked, really lean, really strong, or just overall in a healthier position, if that's the results, then how are the methods going to get me there? Well, the first step in understanding this is we want to train almost like an athlete. And I'm not saying you have to be D1 level genetics, you don't have to be at the level of athleticism and performance that they're at, but the mentality that they adopt is going to be similar with how we train here. And that's that you have to do things in cycles, in seasons. And that's because you can't be at peak conditioning all the way year round. And athletes can't do it either. That's why they have off seasons, to where they get to the peak, they compete, they maybe win a gold medal, silver medal, whatever it is, and then they have a few months to where they're in the off season, where they go back to the bottom of the pyramid to base build, to incorporate some of the language from our current program. So you have to think about it in a similar way. You have to see it in cycles. You start from the base, you build up as you can, and then you progress towards this final peak. So how do we understand methods though? We know we want to think about like a stair-stepping model to where we're progressing slowly, but how do we understand how methods are different than results, practically speaking? Well, that leads us to our last point, which is that methods lead to results. So there is going to be similarity, and that's what provides the trajectory. It's leading somewhere. It's going to get us to where we want to be. So if we think about the client journey, when you first start training, we're going to build this first layer. And this could be your first 12 weeks of training with us. So your 12-week introductory program. You'll have 3 months to get some basic exposure, get some decent gains in strength, you gain some muscle, lose some fat, and you're doing a lot of learning at the same time. That's mostly what it is. And then as we add on layers, let's say this next one, you're going to do your first barbell program. It's where you really start to see the application of your strength and your muscle mass gain towards moving heavier weights with barbells. And then as you go on and your training experience increases, you'll see some more direct applications to different variations, different intensities, different volume schemes. And then as you go up, the methodologies that we use to train get more and more specific. And then that goal of pulling a 400-pound deadlift will be at the peak of your pyramid waiting for you. But this illustrates that you need to start here. You can't think that you're going to be here immediately, and you can't train like the person who is already there, because if you do, then more accurately what you're trying to do is build a very narrow pyramid in a very short period of time, which will look something like this. Well, if you know anything about architecture, I mean, albeit we do have skyscrapers, so the analogy kind of falls apart here, but let's say you got this really tall structure, not a very good foundation, and it's very thin. There's not a lot of foundation beneath it. If things like crosswinds or other parts of the elements start to push it around, that structure is going to fall over because you didn't establish the necessary foundation needed. This is a little bit wider, and in the gym context, if we think about this, how this applies, if you try to just jump right away to the results section, you're training all the way to RPE 10, 6 sets, all the way to failure. That's not going to work. And the crosswinds in that situation would be excess fatigue, soreness, mental preparation. You're not there yet. You haven't started where you need to, where things are relatively simple. You're trying lots of different things, spreading your focus out thin, and then you're getting more focused as you build up. So remember, methods are not the same as results. Think like an athlete. Not so much training like an athlete, but think like an athlete, which will then influence the direction of how your methods will lead you to the result that you want. Catch you guys next time.